everyone, and welcome back to the weird part of YouTube, aka my channel. It is so good to see you guys. So here we are in another video. I honestly didn't think I would be posting one of this because given that the information is already there, it's already clear. But obviously you guys had a lot of questions, a lot of comments as well, which I have answered, but it's just overwhelming at this point, and a lot of questions are more or less the same that I've covered in my previous videos. So here we are answering all of them so that this video provides some sort of clarification, and hopefully it resolves your issues, and you can probably travel confusion free. To be very honest, I've already covered this in a lot of videos, so this is going to be just a reiteration. And also some of the experiences that I've read. I also experienced some of the travel updates, as well as some of the airlines which I recommend, which to choose and whatnot. So let's get started, shall we? So first of all, the travel ban is going to be removed in November 8th. So this travel ban essentially affects 33 countries which were under the travel ban, starting with China back in January 2020. And slowly they started adding more and more countries. Italy went later than that, after that UK, because of the lot of coronavirus transmission and everything. And slowly they started adding more countries and where the cases were super high. Last, of course, was India back in May of this year. So given that more and more countries are getting vaccinated, this sort of traveling, restricting travel, is either you have to do it all at once. Like there were certain exemptions. If you have an NIE approval, you could come in. If you quarantine, you could come in. So these sort of exceptions don't really prevent rate of spreading, even though you need to have a negative COVID test. So it just made sense to remove it. So a lot of people have been asking what happens to the president proclamation and everything, given that this news is up already. So as of Monday, the president itself has written a law that you don't really need to quarantine anymore. The proclamation is cancelled, which has already been known since September 28th, but obviously it is official as of Monday this week. So yeah, there we go. So no more president proclamation. So no more reviewing every 30 days whether it makes sense to remove this ban or not. It's removed permanently. So obviously if you're traveling from other countries that are not part of the ban list right now, as long as you're traveling before November 8th, there is no certain requirements like your vaccination card or anything. You can travel as long as you have a COVID negative test with you 3 days prior to entering into the country. However, after November 8th, irregardless of whether you're traveling from the banned country or a country that will not ban at all, for example UAE, Qatar, which were popular destinations for people to quarantine into, that rule is now just in place as well. So as long as you're traveling from anywhere around the world, you need to show your COVID negative test, as well as you need to be fully vaccinated. So a lot of people have been asking me what qualifies as fully vaccinated. Fully vaccinated qualifies as you need to take 2 shots, unless you take a Johnson & Johnson, which is essentially single shot. Ensure that you're vaccinated, both the doses are fully done. A lot of things are qualified, as long as it depends on which airlines you're traveling. A lot of airlines consider, as long as you take 2 shots, you're done. Some airlines consider, after you take your 2 shots, your second shot, 14 days after is when you're fully considered as fully vaccinated. So depending on what the airline rules are, where you're flying in from, do check that out. If you just get vaccinated a day before you're flying, that might not qualify as fully vaccinated, even though you totally are. So just know around the rules. Obviously, it makes sense to fly 14 days after, if you have any sort of medical reaction or conditions, it makes sense. So essentially give a leeway of a week or 2 weeks to medically monitor your conditions if you have some reactions towards that. So that qualifies as fully vaccinated. A lot of people have been asking what qualifies as vaccinated, what vaccines are allowed. Obviously, if you're flying into the US, if you're from the US, you might have already gotten the shot, such as Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson. So these vaccines are approved, along with AstraZeneca. But apart from that, who approved vaccines as of Monday is the final list, as in who approved vaccines, which are 7 of them, including India's Covishield, which is essentially a modification of AstraZeneca. As long as you've gotten that, you should be good. So what happens to other vaccines? Right now, there are no sort of other vaccines is in Sputnik V. There's no comments on that, which is Russia's, like the top vaccine. And a lot of other countries, especially in Latin America and other countries, have been popularly used because of the widespread of COVID. And, a lot of countries donated their vaccines, Sputnik V being the top one of them. So even in India, a lot of people use Sputnik V. So if you're part of that gang, I think it makes sense for you for you to wait until you get official news. Probably in January they might modify that. As long as you're vaccinated, you can come in. But right now, this is a sort of a new news update as of Monday, where they did mention that it has to be who approved vaccines prior to before, where it says you just need to be vaccinated. So with that respect, if you can get Covishield, do consult your physician. If you can swap the vaccines, if you have to travel in a month or two or something like that. If you can't wait till January, that makes sense for sure. Try to consult your physician, and if you can get 2 shots of Covishield, that's well and good. Some other countries that are not part of this list are essentially, if you're part of a country that is less than 10% of your population is vaccinated, you are exempt from that, which is very few countries. For example, Libya, Egypt. I'll leave the list down below. So if you're part of those countries, you don't really need to get vaccinated. You can just hop in. But obviously, also the countries where children below 18, most of the vaccines, unless it's Pfizer, most of the vaccines aren't approved for children or teenagers. So if you're part of that gang as well, you are exempt from vaccination. A lot of people have been commenting down below what about children less than 18 years old? Obviously, they are exempt. So yeah, you can probably travel along with them. But obviously, they need to take a COVID negative test as long as they are about 2 years old. So ensure that they have a negative COVID test. So the other exception is as long as you're a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, if you are unvaccinated, you have to ensure, this is a little bit more stringent because they want people to get vaccinated, is that before you just need to take your COVID test immediately, which is like 24 hours validity. And when you enter into the country, you need to prove that you have a COVID negative test appointment, so that you can go into the pharmacy or wherever and get yourself checked in and checked out where if you're positive or negative. Depending on that, get yourself quarantined as well responsibly. So this is sort of stringent. So another question is like, who's going to check these updates and everything? Essentially, the airlines check-in counter is going to be monitoring all this stuff. They're going to give you a new form, CDC form, which is essentially like going to be valid for like 60 days. Essentially, you have to write your name, your address, your number, and all that information, which is essentially going to act as contact tracing, as well as they will look at your proof of vaccination, as well as they look at the COVID negative test. Usually, they just look at the COVID negative test. Now, they're going to have a bunch of forms for you to fill in. So definitely go to the airport way early. I would suggest at least 6-7 hours before. I know people hate coming to the airport early, but in this case, because it's not very widespread, this is more of a trial run. It makes sense for you to travel much earlier. And in case, especially in India, they want to profit off a COVID test and everything, and they constantly reject other labs' COVID tests. So, and the COVID test usually takes 6-7 hours in the airport unless it's rapid. So depending on that, you don't want to take any guesswork. So definitely come to the airport 6-7 hours early. If you have to take a negative test, COVID test, you do have ample enough of time for you to get yourself tested and come in. So yeah, so ensure that you come to the airport much earlier. What are the other recommendations that I have for airlines? Again, me personally, I prefer Emirates because they treat people really nicely. A couple of especially from Reddit, as well as I've personally experienced some of my friends telling me when they were traveling during quarantine, Qatar Airways, because they solely profited off people during this time, because obviously Qatar was a huge hopway, and even people coming in from Dubai traveled via Qatar. They actually treated people really badly during quarantine, and I don't think they're going to treat people the right way even during this time. So if you have an option to swap out airlines, definitely consider Emirates. It's my personal favorite as well. It is a little tad bit expensive, but at least you get the peace of mind that you're going to travel safely as well. So the stopover again is like, it's going to be Dubai in this case, but there are direct flights if you're traveling in from Dubai as well. The couple of other airlines that I would highly recommend is United. United, again, there's direct flights into the US, which is like 18 hours, 17 hours, depending on where you're flying in from. If you're flying in from Delhi to SFO, it's 17 hours. So again, they look at your stuff very closely and recommend all that stuff. So I definitely recommend United as well as Emirates. And yeah, a couple of airlines, secondary tier is going to be Delta. So yeah, any other airlines apart from Qatar as well, great job as well. So what about Air India? Air India is also a good option, but obviously it depends on when you're flying. Sometimes the tickets are super high, sometimes it's super low. With respect to Air India, I find it like in the sense like when you have to get a refund, or if there's something going wrong with the check-in counter, getting a refund is going to take forever and super hard. Sometimes you might even lose the money. So if you don't want to do all those options out, try considering another airline for sure. But depending on where you're flying in from, these are the rules. That is, you need to be fully vaccinated. If you're traveling in from any other country, you need to have a COVID test, as well as you need to have some forms which you need to get filled at the check-in counter. So definitely come early. The other thing that I also want to mention is that subscribe to this channel. Like I've been posting a lot of these updates, so it definitely helps me to post more about this, as well as keeps me motivated. So definitely subscribe, as well as like this video. If you did that would be super great. Last question obviously is that, which is, I find it very lame, but anyways, I'm going to answer it. Who all are qualified to come into the US? As long as you have a valid US visa, you can come in without any issues. This is B1, B2, F1, R1, J1, whatever type of visas are there for US, you are, as long as it's valid. What does valid mean? As long as it's it's valid for like 6 months. And also your passport is also valid for 6 months. If it has a 6 months validity, you're okay to travel in. What about less than 6 months? Unfortunately, you can't travel in. It has to be 6 months, at least 6 months. If you aren't able to get that thing done, obviously get an appointment with embassies. That is a huge topic by itself, because embassies are slowly opening up. Most of the appointments do come up in December, January. If you've already paid out your consulate fees, do remember that it's non-refundable, but you can have it for a year. So till then, from that date onwards, you can obviously check in for how many appointments you get. So stay tuned on that. Definitely you're going to get a lot of appointments from coming December and January, February onwards, even for people who want to stamp their H1B visas, or who coming from other countries to stamp it over there. So definitely stay tuned on that. But yeah, for sure, make sure your visas are valid, make sure you qualify for all these stuff, and that is all, y'all. So this is the update that I have for now. If I learn more about it, and definitely if you have any more questions and stuff, let me know down in the comments. I'll try to reply to them. If not, if it's a bigger issue, I'll try to create another video on that. So till later, see you later, bye.